This is the second time through. We had to withdraw the earlier application in July because we're having some issues with our national diversity database information from DEP. We've received that from DEP, and we've started the process of responding to that. We expect to be able to respond to that sometime in September. We'll report a summer report to be added to our application. But the property as the Commission is very well aware of, is map 1-4, block 10, lot 1, off of West Lane. It's approximately 2,800 square feet, or 2,800 feet away from the intersection with the Chamberlain Highway. It's a 110-acre piece of property. We're proposing 76 units, combination of 2 and 4 unit, multi-unit development. There are 3 types of impacts that we're going to have. I'll be referring to Bart to explain all 3 of them, but we have direct impacts, which is a road crossing, and a couple of smaller direct impacts. They're going to impact approximately 3,500 square feet. We have some temporary impacts, which are going to be very minor, 10,000 square foot, 248 acres of impact. I'll let Bart explain that as well. That's for a cart bridge and a sanitary force main. And then we also have some upland review impacts as well. At this time, I'll turn it over to Bart to just give a brief overview. I think the Commission is very familiar with it. We've made some slight deviations from our initial application. There were some changes and revisions made during the course of the first public hearing. That was withdrawn, and we made a few other changes as well in light of the DEP's National Diversity Database response. So I'll turn it over to Bart this time.
Thank you. For the record, Bart Bovay from H. Bull & Sons, lead engineering surveyor on the project. The plan that you see before you is pretty much the same plan that we were in prior. I'll point out a few changes that we made and why we've made them. When doing our work for the assessment, when Jen was doing her original spring work, she knows we picked up 4 areas of vernal pooling on the project. One is located in the center of this wetlands up in here. There's 2 very small tracks that are basically infield car tracks that have filled it up in here. And then there's a larger area of vernal pool on the south side or the east side of the property in this location. And then down here against the homes here on the property. What we try to do with our plan is try to work with George and Jennifer for their assessments and try to minimize our impacts and change our plan in such a way that we can respond favorably to the DEP, and hopefully it reflects on our plan and you will see it too. What we've done, number 1, is we've taken the vernal pool that was out this location and we slid the ditch on this location and we slid it through the units. We also had another unit that was being used for model in this location. What we've done is we've taken the 2 units here, taken the 2 units here, and moved them to a 4-unit here. That and a change in the plan here. Originally we had circular round 42-inch culverts with changes to the natural bottom ox culvert. And we feel with these improvements, keeping the separation distances 100 feet away from the vernal pool area, we provide a migratory area for mammals and small mammals and amphibians here. We've met the requirements that the state has kind of given us for guidelines in surrounding that. This vernal pool is relatively minor and disturbed. We believe we have adequate area around the outside. George will talk about that. Another change we've done is we've eliminated the mitigation. One thing we found out on the site is this was previously disturbed as a farmland, and we'll show you those pictures when we get into a public hearing. But essentially, this area here and this area here were all open fields at one time. And it's our biologist's opinion that those fields and the regrowth of those fields are the major source of invasive species, plant species that have grown within this area. So beyond the development here, what we propose is a community garden, so to speak, that will incorporate down in this area. We hope to remove a lot of the sources for these invasive species. And one of the things we'll propose, and we'll show you at our public hearing, is the fact instead of building a small little area of wetlands that will tack onto the big wetlands, is we're looking to do a more comprehensive plan of removing some of the other invasive species that are affecting the wetlands. There's a lot of barberry and some of these other type of species that have encroached along some of these areas. And we're looking to pinpoint the densest, highest area of these and remove those invasive species as part of our mitigation. The car path is the same location. The parking lot in the front is the same location. All their detention areas are all in the same location. The buildings are really in the same location, except for the units that we swapped around this other area. All in all, if you remember, our impact area is close to 100,000 square feet of upland view. These changes have knocked down our upland impacts close to 60,000 square feet. So we've done about 35 to 40% reduction on impacts that we had originally, mainly because we removed Thickens detention area and moved it up, and because of the proposed loss mitigation area. Direct impacts have less than slightly because of the box culvert crossing. We've gone from about 4,400 square foot impact to about 3,500 square foot impact. So we've knocked those numbers down, and we still have the same rough impacts that we're going to have over our bridge and auxiliary crossing, but that is a mitigation for replanting on the area will basically give us a zero impact. I already had 2 minutes to speak. I think I've used 3 so far. I know we'll probably go back to a public hearing. The plan, our intent is to have all of our experts at the meeting. So we will have representatives from Soil Science Environmental Services and also George Logan and REMA Environmental. So they will go through all the assessment work. George will go through all of the work that he's done for the NDEB letter. Just let you know there are over 17 varieties of plants listed in that, and we have found no invasive plant species, or no endangered plant species. We found invasive plant species, that's it, but no endangered plant species. These vernal pools probably contain egg masses for wood frogs and salamanders, and if you read those plans and you look at the notes in the first section, you'll see an area specifically indicated for planting notes for dealing with amphibians during the project. But the amphibians that we found are not endangered. They are just there and they're dealing with them. And the methodology that we're using was given to us in the NDP letter from the letters. So that's where we are. And I'm happy to answer your questions.
You said you eliminated a mitigation area. Help me. Can you expand on that?
Okay, we had an area of about 12 or 13,000 square feet of impact in this location. And essentially what we're doing, we were going to take all these nice trees. This is our biologist. Taking these nice trees, we're going to cut them down, maybe save a few, create some hummocks or stuff around the trees, but essentially create a small area of wetlands compared to the larger wetlands we have over here. And it's our biologist's feeling that instead of trying to cut down the canopy and open this area up and do more things that may attract invasive species, we're better off to get the invasive species that are located. And they specifically pointed out here, there may be some other areas, but no, they've looked in this area. And our plan is to remove these invasive species mechanically, not chemically, but mechanically, like pull them up by the roof. And that would be our mitigation. We are still overseeding and replanting this area where this carpet path was anyway. So we are still providing 3,000 or 4,000 square feet of replanting along this footprint. Those have been trampled on, and those who might have walked in there, you'll see specifically where that path is. That path was in this location, and then this got wet, and then they moved it over to this location, this got wet. So we looked at redoing this whole pathway network as an accessory to the removal of the They will explain it much better than I do.
Are other new areas marked where you found vernal pools? Are they all flagged?
They weren't flagged per se. The way we've done these things so far is when Jen did her evaluation, she pulled out these areas. Jen and I met, we had the field crew out there, we located the wet areas as they were in the field. So that these two will be field located. These areas and these areas, and we'll show you in the aerial photograph at their next meeting, what were done by vegetation type and visual observation. If you look at the vegetation growing here, you look at the vegetation on areas growing here, it's pretty obvious that it's a pretty extensive area of vernal pooling here and here, and all those areas drain down. This is probably part of a larger vernal pool that heads down. But that's something the commission would like to see. We'd be more than happy to put stake. This vernal pool is inside the wet.
Okay.
All right. You'll have maybe a 15, 20, 30-foot area at the bend. There's a vernal pool that sits in the middle. These tracks are very obvious when you go out in the field. In fact, the second time we're out, there's more water in them. The second time than there was the first time. And the feeling was that these tracks are changed seasonally depending on rainfall. If they have a relatively dry spring, these tracks probably don't have anything. The amphibians in there. This one is more of is a long-term wetland and vernal pool. I guess they've also found another vernal pool just off the site up in this location, which feeds down, so it's more of a steady supply of water. And this is just elevation based on these two buildings 1 and 2. We had another duplex here, and we had a duplex here. And we've taken those two duplexes and moved them down to quad on the south side. So we've created, you'll see in the bigger maps, and we've got the map, you'll see the parking lot is where the parking lot is back up in here. So the parking lot is probably 300, 400, 500 feet away.
How did the rain we just had affect you?
I haven't been out. I have more problems.
Mark, do you think that you could stake the center line of the roadways with an offset perhaps to the areas where the vernal pools are?
Yeah, we could put some rough stations and give you some references on the stations. I know when you hike the main trail, there's a trail that comes into this location. It pretty much is at the location of the bridge crossing. We kept the culvert crossing and the road crossing at the location.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that change in that design of the crossing?
Well, we originally had two 42-inch culverts. One was going to be set at the thread of the brook, and then the second one was set parallel, but essentially they kept dry, and it would be used for small mammals and amphibians. It was the feeling of actually George Hogan came up with the concept. Was instead of dealing with those culverts, DEP, if they look at this, was probably going to require a box culvert and have a natural box culvert as opposed to a four-sided box culvert was probably a better thing. So our plans show a box culvert being located in this area. It's going to do two things. With the head walls that we're proposing, it's going to kind of focus all the amphibians towards the culvert so they can use this area and that culvert to expand their breeding post-breeding area back out here as opposed to upland. So it only gives us a very minor footprint for the road crossing where we're going to impact it. So with the head walls and with the wing walls, you know, we've reduced our impact in there by about 30%.
And I know I asked this last time, Bart, but the parking you have for the hikers,
Right.
where are they going to enter the trails now?
Well, the trails are right here. The trails, we would do a whole, and the survey is included. The trails are right here. So they're going to enter the trail off the corner and it'll be right there. They park really on the road.
Right, that's my next question is, like I said, I've had friends call me and say there were 100 cars on the road.
Right.
Are they gonna be able to walk through any of this?
Through the project?
Yeah.
No, this will be a private development. They won't be able to walk through here. We are feeding the land trust about 38 acres in this location, and then another 19 acres in that location. So they're getting close to 50 acres. But within the area, we're going to protect everything down to health with a conservation easement. But we're really not inviting the public to walk through the project.
Well, I'm saying, I mean, you're gonna invite them not to do it, but what's gonna stop them from doing it?
Well, we haven't gotten that far yet. Hopefully, when they don't see passing, they've got a homeowner staring them down the.
I mean, I don't wanna see them walking through, you know, the wetlands or the,
Right.
and stuff like that.
But there is a well-established trail system here in the land trust. I believe, I'm not putting words in Dennis's mouth, but intends to run some trails through this area, to establish some trails down through that area too. They're not present, so. Really, most of the traffic that comes through her are people that hike across the site and come out over here onto Harvest Hill Road and come through. There is another trail that kind of comes up to the golf course property, comes up. I don't think the golf course is going to have any problems with people not hiking back up on the back of the golf courses. But this will, you know, the sign for Ragged Mountain is right here. So this is going to feed directly into that. This is going to be a gated road. So it's not going to invite people to pull up and park on the road.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I had another thought, and this is gonna seem like it's coming out of left field. But I guess, I'm curious, was it ever considered, instead of having this golf cart path through the wetland, which is, well, maybe one of my main concerns, I'm not passing judgment on anything. But was it ever considered of building a road all the way through the Shuttle Meadow, which would, number one, eliminate that golf cart path through a wetland? It would put the traffic burden, it would then be shared among the Shuttle Meadow community who benefits most from this development. And it wouldn't all fall on West Lane and those residents. It would then be shared. And from a public safety perspective, it would then provide, you know, 2 points of ingress and egress. It wouldn't just be one entrance. You could get there in emergencies, you know, from Randecker's Lane, or I don't know what's over there. You know, the land trust would probably be just as happy getting other acreage on this site.
All right. So from a wetlands impact standpoint,
Yeah,
that's our primary wetlands impact. That's a permanent impact. Everything else is temporary. But the forest main covered up area, put wetlands plantings. Our bridge is going to have at least 2.5 feet of cover so mammals can maintain the traffic under the bridge. Everything you see here in light green, and that doesn't even include some of the other stuff, it's all wetlands. So first of all, trying to cross the wetlands is going to be significantly more difficult and have a bigger impact on the wetlands than what we proposed in this.
is that land trust property wetlands?
This is mostly wetlands here. That's a
The
finger of
north, like,
all this lighter green is wetlands.
but how about that in the top right
I
corner?
would
there?
say probably 75% of that is wetlands or fingers of the person. That being said, I don't think there's an easy way to get to the land trust or the golf course property, because that's where primarily that time. So anything you do there, the folks got to decide do they want to do that time, and what do you get with impact with a road.
Yeah, I was picturing that upper road,
Yeah.
going right through that land trust.
There's Wigwam Roads that's here, but it's really a paper street.
Yeah, no, not that.
Right.
Like your upper circle there,
Right, but that's-
extending that road.
But that's the only way you could get into the site was cut across here and then come down to the driving range. You come in and you got some significant topography, almost cliffs up in this location. This is a foot trail. But the paper street is actually here and.
But I think that what he was saying was they're going from where the cul-de-sac is.
Right.
You went, anyway, you could go straight across.
Well, number one, you're gonna have a significant wetlands crossing here, and there's a significant grade change there. There's probably about a.
No, I mean,
You're
your upper street there.
Yeah.
No, that cul-de-sac.
That's all wetlands. Like, I'll bring you maps and I'll show you where all that wetlands is. Because our concern is if you have over 5,000 square feet permanent access, you've got to show the Army Corps feasible improvement alternatives. So they're gonna look at this and say you got a 25,000-30,000 square foot crossing, maybe even more than that. Are there any
I thought
alternatives?
all that was kind of up the mountain and it wasn't wet.
It's up the mountain, but it's up the mountain. And there's a lot of fingers of wetlands that runs on it. it's for all intents and purposes, it's almost impossible to get a road with the present standards. But hearing your comment, I will make sure I put that in.
Yeah, we just.
We also looked at bringing the road this way, where the wetlands, knowing that. But the problem with that is the bank is so steep, you're gonna have more roads that have activity than you are in this area.
Okay, thanks.
But I will definitely
Yeah,
address
I
that.
think it's. all right.
Is there anybody on the Zoom that has any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, technically, it's not a public hearing.
Oh, true, but if somebody has anything they want to address, okay, then, guys, then. Right, you have to make a motion to hold a public hearing at the next October 7th,
This is the fifth,
5th?
first Tuesday in October, the 5th.
Commissioner Rogan, I'll make a motion for a public hearing on application 2109W for October 15th.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Guys, I'll see you next meeting. Next month.
For a change of pace.
Yeah.
When you take that, you say how the road's going up?
I'm gonna have to talk to a field crew guy because I know where active field work is. I will let Jimmy know what our tentative schedule is.
Yeah, if you let Jim know, he can
It'll
pass.
probably be
it.
closer to the public hearing. We'll be.
Do you think you can strive for the last week of September to have it visible?
All right, yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Jim,
Okay,
you want
Mr.
to?
Chairman, yes, I think we need a motion to add the items to the agenda this evening.
Yeah, can I have a motion to add 2110 WF water control?
Yeah, it'd be a proposal by the Water Control Commission to construct a water main along the west side of the Berlin Turnpike between the intersections of Deming Road and Woodlawn.
Can I have a motion to that effect?
The motion to add this to the agenda.
Can I have a second? Yeah, go ahead. Have a second?
Commissioner Rogan will second.
All in favor?
Good, so you probably saw, I handed out some information this evening. There's a plan that delineates essentially the location of the water main. But we have a situation which a number of us on staff were not aware of until about a year and a half ago, that we have a major water transmission line that's constructed as a part of what they refer to as the Northern Industrial Development. During the time frame when Emhart was constructed on Deming Road, the Water Control Commission provided water and sewer services in that entire area. And there was a transmission line fed the Woodlawn Road storage tank. If you drive behind the car, or look behind the car wash on Woodlawn, and across the street from Tasker, you can see a large water tank there. And that tank, along with this line, was constructed for providing water to the tank and then getting water from the tank up to the Emhart facility. God forbid if there was a major incident there. It also connects into the Worthing Fire District system farther south along the Berlin Turnpike. We always knew there was a line there. There were discrepancies with the plans and the as-bills when it was constructed. When the project went out to bid, there were two options: contracted to install a 16-inch cast iron water main or a 20-inch concrete one. For whatever reason, 20-inch main was accepted. The more we looked into the structural integrity of concrete water mains, the more frightened every day. they're far and few between, first of all, trying to get folks to work on them, repair them. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 contractors in the entire Northeast that are capable of doing it, and willing to doing it. We're at a point where, as you know, we have a couple of large projects being proposed within that block of the Berlin Turnpike. On the west side, would have to tap into this for water service. We are very reluctant at this point. We've told the developer of 404 Berlin Turnpike, Mr. Gadio, we will not let them tap into this. Everything we've read into regarding this type of material is that when it fails catastrophic. You can't afford to have that happen. So we're scrambling to get a design together. We're hoping to complete the design. We've just got all the permits in place to replace that 20-inch main with a 16-inch ductile iron main. We're essentially going to be boring under the river. The original line when it went through was an open cut excavation with a buffer dam out half of the that's river channel, installed the pipe 10 feet down, encased in concrete, then did the same thing. The permits that are involved with the commission here this evening are primarily for work within the floodplains down near the river and crossing beneath the river, pipe chain. We're hoping to be able to go out to bid. We're just about 90% there in obtaining our approachment permits from the DOT. Once we get that and resolve the issues here, we're hoping to go to bid late fall and start construction as soon as we can. It's a type of project that can be constructed, through the winter months. It's not going to be easy, but it's something that has to be done. Do it cost me so $1.5 million at this point.
I have 2 questions. One is it going to affect that construction going on right now?
We've come up with a temporary solution for Mr. Diadio. The first phase of this project is working south of our pump stations. There's
Right.
a little brick building. Rather than having him tap into this main, he is going to, and it's crazy the way you set this thing up. They have a ductile iron T or a cast iron T to a fire hydrant. It's just south of our station. And normally, you have a water main that's constructed in the gutter of the road, and the hydrant's offset into the shoulder. It's just the opposite here. The main is farther back, and the hydrant's closer to the road. But for the gas station facility and convenience store, we've worked something out where we feel he's comfortable with the idea of tapping into that T off the main that feeds the fire hydrant. So he doesn't need a lot of volume of water. Pressures are fine. So that'll be a temporary connection.
So it'll be temporary.
Temporary. And
Once-
when we construct the new main, we'll be constructing valves, and taps for that for the rest of the project.
And my other thing is, you said it went from 20-inch concrete pipe. You said to a 16. In your
16.
In your notes, it says 20.
Yeah, we're installing. the
Okay.
system. The existing is. So what we're requesting is the commission schedule a public hearing for the October meeting. A consultant will be here at that time to give a full-fledged presentation on the project.
I have a question. Because of the severity of this, do we need a public hearing?
I would suggest a public. But we can't take action on it
I-
until October.
Right,
anyway.
I understand that, but public hearing could just,
No,
and really not, there's no public affected other than Mr. Diadio and the other.
well, you're gonna have the ADO and all those other businesses. There's a half a dozen of them. The Blue Lobster is one. They're gonna lose services.
Okay, that's true, that's true, no, you're right.
Auto
Auto
sales
sales.
facility on the
And
corner.
the ABC,
ABC supply.
okay,
So Jim, the water line that's feeding those
Yeah,
fire hydrants,
Yep.
So there's like parallel water mains?
No, there's a tee off the concrete main, but it's a different material.
Oh, gotcha. So the T that they're gonna tap into is a tap off
Cast
the
iron.
concrete.
Are they gonna need water soon anyway? I mean, it looks like they're still in the,
You know, they can certainly tie into, you know, within the next 6 months, I think they're gonna need tie in.
so it won't be permanent, it won't be for very long.
It's temporary.
It won't be very long, I assume.
I mean, if all goes well, we'd like to have this project completed by next spring.
Yeah,
Plan from us to something.
We encountered the situation probably a year or so ago, a year and a half ago. We applied for a, what we refer to as the clean water fund loan, through deep on this project. It's expensive. What it is. But it's something we don't have any choices.
right.
What's the application on this one?
It would be 21-10 WF.
Yeah, anybody, any questions here? All set. Yeah, I get a motion, have the whole public hearing for
Okay, Commissioner Roman will make a motion for a public hearing on application 21-10 October 5th.
Can I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
We can close it.
Jim, any other business before the,
Just a couple of things, an update on the homeowner on Tollgate Road. Yeah, I left him a voicemail today reminding him that the commission was requesting the project to be completed by September 15th. And along with its completion, we're looking for either an as-built plan to be provided to us, showing what he's done to make sure he's done it in accordance with the plan, and or a certification from either his environmental specialist or his engineer identifying the fact he's completed. He followed up with a voicemail back to me today and said, yeah, you know, I've been working on this. I spent $75,000 doing the work. You know, I'm going to be seeing things next week. I hope to get it. So, I mean, if he's a week or two down the road, it's not a big deal. The key is to get something that tells us did we supposed to.
I mean, I drove by, I just drive by and it looks like it's doing a nice job, but doing everything we asked him to.
Here's that.
But it looks good.
So he just gotta get done, then he's gotta stop.
Right. Exactly.
We'll take turns once a month.
Yeah, right, yeah, right. Anything
So
else, Jim?
we have that and, we have a, we didn't actually send out a cease and desist, but we've contacted a property owner at 152 Lower Lane, who's encroached into the town's property, which is both, you know, within a wetland area and floodway, floodplain. There's been some filling with wood chips. There's a couple of sheds that have encroached into the town's parcel. And just to give you a little bit of history on this piece, it's been a vacant piece of property since the last early 1960s, when a number of houses from 152 southward were constructed by a developer. This piece of property was vacant. It was part of the holdings of the developer, and back then he knew enough not to build it for the Wetlands Act, for the flood hazard act. Make a long story short, a fellow came in and blocked the property. There's a vacant parcel back in the early 1980s. Applied to the commission in the early 80s to build a house. He was denied. Same fellow came back in the late 1980s to build there again. He was denied. The third time around, he applied again. He was denied. Took an appeal to the court. And the court said, well, you know, town of Berlin, if you're not going to let him build there, then you should buy the property, which just did not make sense. It was one of those things where it's a buyer beware. You should have known what you bought. The rules and regs were in effect at that time. Anyway, The homeowner of 152 has encroached into this area. He's been filling, constructing improvements. We recognized it, both myself and the zoning enforcement officer, paid him a visit shortly after we sent a letter out saying, we were kind, just basically, telling him what he should be doing. They received a letter, he followed us up. We met a couple of days later out there, actually the first part of last week, explained to him. We didn't want to, we started with the enforcement action, if you would cooperate, which he has been. And then 2 days later, we'll go 2 feet of water on this piece of property. So I think he understands that he shouldn't be in there. He's in the process of actually removing the sheds at this point, trying to get game plan together, pull all the material out before the plan. So it's just an FYI. Well, I'd like to see it completed by the end of the year, by the winter season.
Was it quite a bit of fill? Was it quite a bit of fill that he was doing?
Yeah, he's filled. I bet he's filled 5,000 square feet area there. But it's mostly with wood chips and debris and.
Plus, there's a shed or two. I mean, I grew up in that area. I mean, I knew the original owners of that house and I knew what it was like. When I drive by, every time I see it, there was always something. He had his wood pile too.
Yeah, and one of the sheds, there were 2 sheds. Town parks in the process of moving those out.
Just slide them out to his backyard.
Yeah.
Those houses are always.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But we'll work with him. He's been cooperative, so maybe can't ask him more than that.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Anybody else have anything? If not, motion to adjourn? Yeah, yes, Lisa, you got yes to say. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Kind of second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I think we're finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
I think we got 7 inches of rain, huh?
Yeah, I know. 7 1/4.
And